obviously you were in Event Horizon. You were in the second unit, which was responsible for all the crew log stuff. And basically, like when the previous crew fired up the ship for the first time, they went off to hell, and they kind of just well, they had a bad time there by the looks of things. And you don't get to see an awful lot of it in the finished cut. It's just little flashes here and there. But even that sounds pretty bad. And I know there's a much longer version that they did shoot. And I, as try as I might, I couldn't find much about it on the internet. The only thing I was able to dig up was a quote from Jason Isaacs, who was in the movie, who said, and I'll repeat this one for you just for a little bit of context here because it sounds wild. It says when he was talking about the director, he was doing things that were, I've no doubt, against the law,
Yeah.
certainly against certainly against every ethical and professional guild code. There were porn stars, there were amputees, there were people recruited from S&M clubs. There was some stuff going on in there. Every now and again, he would walk over to our set with a kind of Vietnam War thousand-yard stare and go, "You wouldn't believe what I've been seeing this morning." So they shot lots of that stuff, and that's all he was willing to say.
Wow. Gosh. Some of that I knew, some of that I didn't know. But yeah, it all kind of sounds familiar. I think it was all pretty. It was legal. There was no actual. Uh,
No one
well,
died.
no one died. No one got hurt. I mean, we're talking Paramount Pictures here. So it was second unit, so Paul Anderson just visited the set and kind of gave his approval. So that was cool. I enjoyed meeting him. Yes, there were porn stars. I wasn't one of them. I got involved in a really different way, and I'll explain my involvement. It wasn't through casting or anything like that. I don't know about BDSM club participants. I'm sure there were. I was there for 2 days, so we shot solidly for like 2 days on an amazing stage. I've never seen anything like it. It was the 007 stage, obviously before it burnt down,
Yeah.
and what can only be described as not completely life-size, but almost life-size spaceship. So we're going back to, I think, is it 1997? Am I getting
Yeah, that's when the movie came out. So you're talking 25 years ago.
Yeah, so it had quite an official 25-year anniversary kind of celebration a few months ago, because I did a little thing on Event Horizon as well for my patrons. And you have to remember that this is before this kind of before the digital age really kind of took a hold of things, and that becomes very relevant as well as to why there is no more of this footage. Like
Hmm.
everything, when they say like rushes, they really were rushes. They were working with VHS tapes. I mean, I don't mean the final film, but when they were looking through rushes and stuff like that, stuff was on VHS. Things, for example, DVDs. I can't believe this, but DVDs hadn't even like massively taken off, because the director was saying there wasn't this huge need or call for extras or behind the scenes or interviews with the stars. They weren't really doing that on set.
Yeah.
So again, that's another reason why they weren't thinking, even with I think with various re-releases, the studios weren't saying, what are your extras?
Hmm.
So they weren't looked after, and they were, yeah, very very hardcore. I don't know. I did read up on it all. It is still an 18, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But some of the stuff we were doing was just, yeah. I mean, there were
So
dicks
what?
everywhere and nudity everywhere. There was rape scenes, rape turning into cannibalism. They called it the Visions of Hell sequence.
Yeah.
So I was the Visions of Hell girl. But just quickly, because I just met some amazing people. I had the best time that weekend. It was so much fun. But actually, so this is quite exclusive. This is a photo from, I don't know if you guys can see this. This is the
Yeah.
actual backstage in the SFX department.
Hmm.
And the SFX guy, Duncan, who's done amazing stuff. He worked on the Reverend? No.
Revenant. Yeah.
Revenant. He did all the Leonardo DiCaprio bear stuff. Anyway, so he was in charge of this. And that's me bending over backwards and being worked on by one of the SFX guys. I'm not sure who this guy is. He's either one of the body actors or it's Sam Neill. Because
So it was
everyone had
this,
to have a body cast. Everybody.
yeah. So was this done for the for that sequence where you get to see the crew log, or was this something else? Because the way you're kind of stood there, like with your arms like behind you, it's like
Oh no, I'm going backwards. So
right, okay,
that was a really hard. But so basically, the way I got onto film was Duncan was working on Pervarella, I think. So Pervarella was my first movie, and they needed some very, very broad-minded people to be naked to do body casting. So I
right.
was brought in as literally a spare body, and they did loads of body castings on me, and I could get myself into all these horrible death positions. So these are death positions for. So that was me.
All right. Yeah,
That
some
one,
of this looks kind of familiar.
that one is me.
Right. Okay.
You can't. I'm sort of backwards, and there's a spike going through my stomach. So
Right. So that's a body cast of you.
yeah, so this was the Visions of Hell. So originally, I was just on all the time on the in the SFX room, having my body cast in horrible positions because you have to be able to hold your position for half an hour while they create the cast.
Yeah.
And then they just said, "Hey, do you want to, be promoted and be one of the crew?" And I was like, "Yeah, hell yeah."
Yeah.
That's how I got another little role, sort of a role.
So what were you doing in that, like when you got promoted into doing that crew role? Like what
So
were you doing there?
I guess they didn't worry too much about who was doing what and continuity because effectively I had two deaths. I was the girl. Oh, it's not in this picture. I don't think there's a flash of me. There's a flash. It's like a second.
This is what's so annoying because there was probably much more originally, but like they cut everything down to just like little flashes, like a couple of frames, and that's all you get.
No, the money they must have spent. We're talking. I don't know about millions, but possibly, maybe not millions. But the money they spent on that was immense. It was immense. They had a huge amount of actors. We were asked to do like fight scenes. They just wanted us to go nuts for 2 days in the dark. We were directed, but my main key scene was a sort of, sounds really awful, but we were all just having fun. A sort of rape scene.
Nothing screams fun like a rape scene,
It wasn't. The thing is, it wasn't actually supposed to be. And I hate using that word too much, but it wasn't kind of a rape scene. It was supposed to be like everybody had just gone really, really animal and primitive.
yeah.
So it was more like chaos.
It's just kind of like mutual destruction, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not like mutual rape or whatever. So there was this nasty sort of sex scene going on, but very animalistic. So just weird.
Yeah.
And then I had to lurch up, and I mean, this is where it was very specifically kind of choreographed, and I had to bite this man's throat and pull his esophagus out.
Nice, as you do.
Yeah, and it was all specially done, and the special effects were so. Oh my god! So that was one of my death scenes, and the other one was they did even more work on it, where I had to go and see a dentist, an SFX dentist, and they did a huge cast of my mouth, where there was a huge rusty, wasn't rusty, it was plastic, but rusty. What do you call it? Thing that goes like that.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Like then thing that you get in dentists and stuff.
Yeah, it was like a clamp thing.
Mm-hmm.
It looked really horrible, and so I had one of those put in my mouth. It was really it looked really horrible. I looked like a horse because I got big teeth anyway. And and then a dentist is sort of, I don't know if is he doing dentistry? He couldn't have been doing dentistry. I think he was either drilling into my mouth or he's like pulling teeth out.
Oh, okay.
Well, I had this very elaborate thing on. So again, I think it was supposed to just be literally your worst nightmares, your worst fears, and that didn't make the cut at all. So yeah, I went to the cinema, really nervous actually, because when I did the film, I was still at university, and
Well, I was going to say, you must have been crazy young when you did that, because this movie was, what, 25 years ago already, so,
yeah,
yeah,
well,
man.
I was 20. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I was in my
Damn.
first year. I'd just done Pervarella, and then, as I say, the same the same guys who worked on Pervarella were like, "We're doing this great Event Horizon job." So that's how I got Event Horizon, because they knew I was quite easy to work with, and I was at the time I was very easy with nudity, and that was the big thing. They needed people to be really, really easygoing with nudity, which is obviously why they hired some adult film actors.
Yeah.
Yes, there
It's
were
it's
a lot of that.
I tell you, man, it's such an interesting thing to see. Like, it's, man, I must have been like 14 or something when I saw it for the first time. It scared the shit out of me, but this idea that like it's not like some monster eating them or something. It's like they're all just doing it to each other. It's like it's woken the most horrible animalistic parts of their own minds, and they were probably like this crew that went there. They were probably all just good people before that, but like it turned them into just these like animals that just tore each other apart.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite a cool idea for a horror film, really.
It's quite Lovecraftian. I mean, I didn't realise it was Lovecraftian, and I don't know if it was consciously Lovecraftian, but yeah, Paul Anderson had a really, it was quite deep, really. So yeah, you go through this black hole, which obviously no man has ever done or could survive, and it just brings out the worst fears in you, and they manifest in a real way. I mean, of course, it doesn't make sense, but then it doesn't have to.
No, we talked about this on the stream a few weeks
Back
ago.
then was so imaginative, and you know, as I say, Lovecraftian. It was this sort of cosmic fear of being completely out of control and these huge forces of nature that we know nothing about. So yeah, there is the deep side of it if you want to go there.
Yeah. I always loved the reaction of Lawrence Fishburne when that whole scene plays out, like because they're watching this play back to them on the crew log, and he just switches it off and goes, "We're leaving." That's him done.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I did hear that a lot of the because there was so much violent things going on for 2 days. It had to be what's called a closed set. Sorry, my son keeps coming in. Finley, please, can you not go? Please, darling. Finn, this is like a job.
You should put this in your area.
Finn,
Put this in your area.
Finn, go.
I can give you a minute if you want to like. if you
Turn
wanna...
it off. Bye bye, darling. So, they just don't leave me alone, literally. Yeah, I know that all these stars, like the real stars, not us, the real stars doing proper stuff and getting good money, they were all saying, "Can we come on set?" Like, I know Sam Neill and Sean Pertwee were trying to come onto our stage, and they were like, "Nope, sorry." Like, even they weren't allowed on.
Yeah, I mean, really, like if yeah, everyone's like naked and stuff. It's like you don't really want that many people to see you while you're doing all this stuff, I imagine. So yeah, that kind of makes sense.
I mean, you know, yeah. I think by that point we probably didn't, you know, we were like, we've kind of shown it all now. But yeah, they did respect. That's what I mean. It was a very professional shoot.
I feel like you would, you know, when you've done something like that, you'd just never be embarrassed about anything ever after that. It's like, well, I've done this, so you know.
I never have been. It's weird. I don't. Yeah, I must have been an exhibitionist when I was younger. I didn't. Nothing like that bothered me. I just enjoyed it. I found it really liberating. Made loads of friends. I was taken out to dinner afterwards with Sam Neill and everyone, and they treated us. And yeah, it was a very good experience.
Nice.
I didn't realise at the time, you know, I didn't really think, oh, this is going to be a big film and it's Paramount Pictures and it's going to be in the cinemas. So in a way, I was glad that all my scenes were not like, you know, I watched it in Leicester Square on my own like this, thinking, what have I done? What if my mum sees this, or my dad, you know, anyone that I know can watch this. So when I just saw this flash of me going like that, and that's meant to be me eating someone's esophagus, and I was like, oh my God, that was it. And I was like, okay, that's a shame there's not more, but equally, I haven't ruined my career.
Yeah.
did a lot.
I did wonder, yeah, like what would be the reaction, because it's like, well, we did all this stuff, we put in all this time and effort, and I want to see what they end up with, and then you just get it, and it's like a quick flash, and it's over, and
He just
was there?
frames. He didn't even edit. I think it's literally a few frames that he put in.
Yeah, it's the from what I understand, it's the executives at Paramount. They did like a screening, like a rough cut of the film, with all the gore and all the really nasty bits in, and they were like appalled by it, because this is this is the 90s. Like, it was not as broad-minded, I suppose, as you would get later, and they were like, no, we have to cut this. There's no way we can release it like it is, and he was put on a ridiculously tight time scale to get it finished. Like, post-production was really short, and that's why they were so extreme with their cuts, because they didn't have time to like figure out a more sensible way of doing it.
There's lots of stuff, interesting scenes that got cut, apparently, like Sam Neill doing his weird, he does this weird kind of exorcist backwards spider walk or something. I mean,
I've seen a little bit of that. Yeah, it was kind of unfinished, but it looked really cool. Just like a really unnatural kind of, it reminded me of The Ring. When the little girl kind of crawls out of things, and like she can contort into weird positions and stuff.
Yeah. It was a really exciting film to work on, because, as I say, the spaceship that you see everything was real. There wasn't any CGI, as far as I know. There probably was, but in terms of being on set, every single button was completely for real. Like, and the design of it was incredible. So that room where the thing's spinning round.
The core. Yeah, the engine core,
and that bright orange kind of weird, I don't know if it's supposed to be some womb exit or whatever, that kind of bright orange thing with loads of panels. That's all real. It was all real. And we were just running around it.
Well, I think this was obviously done before, CGI was really like it is now. And so instead of a CGI spaceship, it would be like a model that they would track the camera around. The sets were all practical and all that, like you say. And I guess the set that you guys shot on was probably the same set, just the bridge of the ship that the main actors were on. Like with all the control panels and all that other stuff. And that's where you get this big, orgy where the previous crew just all kill each other.
Yes.
You must have had fun, like, destroying that place a little bit.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of blood splats and people throwing intestines at you and stuff like that. But it was really good to work on. I'm quite proud that I did it. And people always, often say, "Oh, did you know it was going to be this? And did you know it was going to be cold?" Of course, you never know. I knew it was a studio production, but that's kind of all I knew. And it's a shame that. So that if people are asking, though, unfortunately, there will never be a director's cut unless they actually refilmed those scenes, because the footage wasn't lost, bizarrely. And this, I mean, you couldn't make it up. For some reason, I read it was being kept in some sort of mine in Transylvania.
That's true, yeah.
We're talking real celluloid, like cans of celluloid. Nothing was digitized. So in a way, it's a sort of product of its own time. It's not tragedy, you know what I mean? The problem.
It's a shame. It's a shame it happened. I think the idea was like you could store them in salt mines because they were very dry and very cool underground. So it was like meant to be the ideal environment.
Miles away from Paramount Pictures, and I don't know why you would store it there. Why? But it's just all really damaged now. There's I've seen a few things that they've saved on the internet of some of my scenes.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is apparently there is possibly one VHS tape floating around Hollywood somewhere.
Come on, like if there's someone out there watching this who has possession of that VHS tape, mail it to the drinker. I will give you my PO box, and like we'll do a screening.
It'll be a producer or someone like that. I don't know. I've heard there is a VHS out there of just the the rushes. So it will have the time code on and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, it'll probably be in like, super low resolution, which is a shame, but it's Yeah, man, it's just one of those little what ifs. You know, if they'd only done it a few years later and it was digitized, it's like,
Yeah.
well, all that stuff would have been saved, and
They
they could
would have
have.
made more effort with saving the footage if they thought, oh, this is going to be a fantastic extra, even if it can't make the actual film.
Yeah,
But it was just on the cusp. It was just before that time.
yeah. It's yeah, and the thing is, I don't think they could even remake it. I just don't think they would do stuff like that these days, like something as extreme as that.
No,
It's
I guess not. No, it's
I,
darkly imaginative. I really liked it, and yeah, I
yeah.
don't know if it would get made now.